Let's begin by hearing a story about trusting others. You may have heard this one before, but like all helpful stories, it's worth hearing again. Brené Brown tells a story about her daughter, and it goes like this. When my daughter Ellen was in 3rd grade, she came home from school one day, closed the door behind her, looked at me, slid her body down the front door, buried her face in her hands, and began sobbing. My response, of course, is, "Oh my God, Ellen, are you okay? What happened?" She said, "Something really embarrassing happened at school today, and I shared it with my friends, and they promised not to tell anyone. But by the time we got back to class, everyone in my whole class knew." Ellen told me that it had been so bad that her teacher took half the marbles out of the marble jar. In her classroom, there's a big jar for marbles. When the class collectively makes good decisions, they get to put marbles in the jar. When the class collectively makes bad decisions, marbles come out of the jar. When the jar is full, the class all gets a nice surprise. Well, the teacher took marbles out because everyone was laughing at Ellen. I told my daughter how sorry I was, and then she looked at me and said, "I will never trust anyone again in my life." My heart was breaking with hers. As I was searching for the right way to talk about trust with her, I thought, oh, the marble jar. I told Ellen, we trust the people in our lives who have earned marbles over time. Whenever somebody supports you, or is kind to you, or sticks up for you, or honors what you share with them as private, you put marbles in their jar. When people are mean or disrespectful or share your secrets, the marbles come out. We look for the people who, over time, put marbles in and in and in until you look up one day and they're holding a full jar. Those are the folks you can tell your secrets to. Those are the folks you trust with information that's important to you. And then I asked her if she had a friend with a full marble jar. Yes, I've got marble jar friends. Hannah and Lorna are my marble jar friends. And then I asked her to tell me how they earned the marbles. I was really curious, and I expected her to recount dramatic stories of those girls doing heroic things for her. Instead, she said something that shocked me even more. "Well, I was at the soccer game last weekend, and Hannah looked up and told me that she saw Oma and Opa. Oma and Opa are my mom and stepdad." Well, I pushed Ellen for more details. "Well, then what?" "No, that's it. I gave her a marble." "Why?" "Well, not everyone has 8 grandparents. I think it's really cool that Hannah remembers all of their names." Ellen continued, "Lorna is also my marble jar friend because she will do the half butt sit with me." My very understandable response, "Lord have mercy, what is the half butt sit?" Ellen replied, "If I come in too late to the cafeteria and all the tables are full, Lorna will scoot over and just take half the seat and give me the other half of the seat so that I can sit at the friend table." I had to agree with Ellen that a half butt sit was really great and certainly deserving of a marble in the jar. Perking up, Ellen asked me if I have marble jar friends and how they earn their marbles. I thought back to the same soccer game When my parents arrived, my friend Eileen had walked up and said, "Hey, David and Deanne, it's really good to see you." And I remember feeling how much it meant to me that my friend had remembered their names. I had always assumed that trust was earned in big moments and through really grand gestures, not the simpler things like a friend remembering small details of your life. Well, Brené Brown, as you may know, is a research professor in social work at the University of Houston. She is a grounded theory researcher who studies human experiences of courage, of vulnerability, shame, and empathy through conducting thousands of interviews with people. Her job is to figure out what the data from those thousands of interviews say and propose a theory. When she looked through the data about people's experience with trust, she saw that the research participants described trust as slow building and a layered process that happens over time. Trust is earned in the smallest of moments through paying attention, listening, gestures of genuine care and connection. It can be as simple as remembering someone's name, a boss who asks how your mom's chemotherapy is going, a neighbor who offers to walk your dog when you're down with the flu, a coworker who asks for help, and people who show up at a funeral. She found trust cannot be summoned by a command like, "Trust me." There are either marbles in the jar of that relationship or there are not. Trust is a living process that requires ongoing attention. The marble jar metaphor is about trusting others and learning to be choosy about it, paying attention to how others earn our trust. But what about becoming trustworthy ourselves? How do we do that? Charles Feltman, author of The Thin Book of Trust, defines trust as choosing to risk something that you value vulnerable to another person's actions. He defines distrust as determining what is important to me is not safe with this person in this situation. So, if someone shares something with me that is important to them, I become trustworthy by keeping that safe. This is one way that I earn the trust of another, and over time, they give me the gift of their trust. It is through our actions, our behaviors, that we become trustworthy or untrustworthy. Trust is created or damaged through experiences. In his book, Faith for the Unbeliever, UU minister Daniel Cantor offers an exercise to help us reflect on the workings of trust in our own lives. He says, write a list of what you trust and a list of what you don't. And then look at it and reflect on what you learn from those lists. I did this exercise last week and noticed that the list of what I trust is twice as long as the list of what I distrust. It takes a lot to earn my distrust. The things or people on the list of what I don't trust are entities that have hurt me or people I love repeatedly. Some people don't deserve trust because of the harm they inflict. I also noticed that the things or the people on the list of what I trust, they are trustworthy but not pure. By that I mean I have had mixed experiences with most of the entities on the list of what I trust. At some point, I lost trust in them and then regained it. How? Well, I risked being vulnerable with those people, places, or processes, working through some hard stuff, and trust was rebuilt. Daniel Coyle, author of The Culture Code, Secrets of Highly Successful Groups, says that the process of building trust works in the opposite way that you think it does. Risk comes before trust. We build trust by risking trust. He identified something called the vulnerability loop that is in play when we are learning to trust. He said there's 3 parts that must all happen for the vulnerability loop to build trust. Number 1, someone signals their vulnerability. For example, you say to your coworker, "I don't know how to do this. I am really in over my head." The recipient receives the signal. That's part 2. For example, the coworker to whom you just signaled that you have no idea how to complete this work project recognizes your signal of vulnerability. You took a risk by revealing something you don't know and you're overwhelmed. So then the 3rd part is the recipient sends their signal of vulnerability back by saying something like, "I've been faking it too." Who can we ask for help? When the vulnerability loop is completed through those 3 steps, a layer of trust is built between those people. When I was in my 20s, I went rock climbing at Taylor's Falls with a new friend that I trusted. At that point, I'd been climbing trees all my life and spent numerous hours in the dance studio and the karate dojo. I was strong and fit. How hard could rock climbing be? And rappelling down a cliff looked like fun, like flying. I didn't think I would have any problem. When my friend's rock climbing buddies explain how it all worked, the spike at the top of the cliff, the ropes, the carabiners, the harness, it became suddenly real that I was about to trust these people by risking my life. They said, "Don't worry, if you get tired or lose your concentration before you get to the top, just let us know that you want to come down." In this case, the risk was worth it. I had fun with my first climb for a while. It was fun to test my strength, find the nooks and crannies for my hands and feet, use my knees even when they yelled at me not to do that. And then, at some point, I noticed I was not concentrating. So I called down to say, "I've lost interest in this." They laughed, and then they coached me through rappelling down the cliff. I took the risk to trust many things in that rock climbing activity. I trusted the leader's expertise. I trusted the equipment. I trusted the rock. I trusted the agreement that I could stop at any time. And I trusted myself, my courage, my strength, and my limits. If I did not trust myself at some level, I don't think I would have taken the risk. But by the same token, taking the risk and having a successful experience increased my self-trust. Trusting others and trusting self are connected. I don't think we can truly do one or the other effectively without developing both. Brené Brown puts it more strongly. She says, if you can't count on yourself, you can't ask others to give you their trust. Brown says we must examine our own marble jar. Is your own marble jar full? How are you treating yourself? Are you building self-trust in small moments, marble by marble? Brown claims we can't ask others to give us their trust if we don't believe we are worthy of receiving it. So the question, are you worthy to receive others' trust, is a pretty deep question. We don't often ask ourselves that. We more often say, I don't trust that person, or I don't trust you. But can we say exactly why? Can we point to specific behaviors that damage our trust? If the relationship is an important one to us, Can we identify actions that would restore our trust and ask for those? Brown says it's too hard to talk about trust as if it is one big thing. She suggests we need to break it down into parts. We need to recognize the many parts of trust in order to build our trust muscles. We have to break it down into small enough parts to say what is not working and ask for what we need specifically. She created an acronym called BRAVING to help us do exactly that. Because when we trust, we are braving connection. It goes like this. B stands for boundaries. You respect my boundaries, and when you're not clear about what's okay and not okay, you ask, and then you're willing to accept when I say no. R means reliability. You repeatedly do what you say you're going to do. A stands for accountability. You're willing to own your mistakes, apologize, and make amends. V means the vault. It's about confidentiality. What I share with you, you hold in confidence, and vice versa. And we will not share things that are not ours to share. I stands for integrity. And this is an interesting way that Brené Brown defines integrity, that you choose courage over comfort. Thank you, Javier, your first time as worship associate today. Another part of integrity is that you choose what's right over what's fun, fast, or easy. N means non-judgment. I can ask for help without being judged by you. G stands for generosity, that you assume the most generous things about my words, actions, and intentions, and then check in with me about what I did that disappointed you. Brown suggests we can also use that braving inventory when we are struggling with self-trust, so we can ask ourselves all those questions for each of those letters. I think building our self-trust is also something we do in small moments. There are going to be moments when we choose whether or not to respect a boundary that we had set for ourselves. There's going to be moments when we choose whether or not to do what we promised to do. There's going to be moments when we make a mistake and choose whether or not to apologize and make amends. There's going to be moments when we choose to not share another person's story because we know it is not ours to share. There's going to be moments when we choose courage over comfort, moments when we don't judge ourselves for needing help, moments when we show generous self-compassion, talking to ourselves with kindness, as if we actually love ourselves, as if we're worthy of love, and choosing not to beat ourselves up over our mistakes. Trusting ourselves can be a daily challenge. I think of so many examples that human beings struggle with. For example, on day number whatever, fill in the blank, day number whatever of sobriety, can I trust myself not to take that drink? Can you trust yourself to leave an abusive relationship? Can you trust yourself to send your tax refund to child support and not bring it to the casino? Can you trust yourself to know when your boundaries have been violated? Can you trust your feelings, your intuition? Can you trust what you know deep in your bones? When life has hurt you grievously, can you trust that you are a child of the universe, held in the larger love that is not so evident at that moment? For as much as we humans can work on ourselves, improve and fail and improve again, as much as we can work on our relationships, we do not have control over everything. When we trust, we give up some measure of control, or the illusion of control. James Luther Adams, 20th century Unitarian theologian, wrote in his essay of Faith for the Free, the first tenet of a free person's faith is that our ultimate dependence for being and freedom is upon a creative power and upon processes not of our own making. We are created by, held in, and die into realities beyond our choosing. Is this not so, friends? Whether atheist, theist, Buddhist, pagan, humanist, agnostic, all of us are created by, held in, and die into realities beyond our choosing. So let us learn to trust ourselves and each other and the larger love, knowing there is only so much we can control. But this, we can choose to risk trust, moment upon moment upon moment.